Welcome to Lunar Kind. Today's video is all about September's planetary transits and their impact and meaning for each of the 12 signs. So this reading is for the first half of September 2021, so the 1st to the 13th. And it's also a double reading because I'll be focusing on the transits for each rising sign, followed by an oracle card energetic read for each sign. And so you can follow each reading by listening to your rising sign and or your moon sign, and I will add the timestamps below so you can catch the sign that is yours. And if you'd like a private reading or to check out my offerings, you can see the description box below. So without further ado, let's get started. Welcome in Aries. If you are an Aries rising sign or moon sign, this reading is for you. So let's begin with the planetary transits. So on the 5th of September, Venus will be moving into your 7th house in its own sign of Libra, and Mars will be moving into the sign of Virgo in your 6th house along with Mercury. So let's look into Venus first of all. So Venus has moved from your 6th house into your 7th house. In the 6th house, it was debilitated as it was in the sign of Virgo, as in Virgo and Venus don't mesh well together. So it entering Libra in its 7th house, which it naturally owns in the zodiac, is a lovely thing. Venus really thrives in this sign as it owns it. So what you'll start to notice here perhaps is anything to do with your relationships is going to be at the forefront with this Venus transit, especially as it's moved from your 6th to your 7th. If you felt any kind of difficulties in the relationships, perhaps there were some obstacles, arguments, the communication wasn't flowing, this is going to start to change now. Venus has moved into this sign and Mercury has moved into its own sign also. So you're going to be focused on kind of like the romantic element of your relationship, perhaps bringing that spark in. If you don't have a partner, perhaps there's someone you've been thinking about and you now begin to feel in this space of pursuing this person. It's all about strengthening the relationship. Venus will also be aspecting your 1st house of self, body, and so this will take to reflect in your personality, how people see you as well. You might be focused on your look right now, maybe changing it up, like beauty, luxury really focuses on here. With this Venus transit, it does receive aspect from Saturn, which is in your 10th house, and from Jupiter, which is in your 11th house. So when Jupiter aspects Venus, there's this element of expansion. And then with Saturn or retrograde, both planets are aspecting your 7th house, there's also a form of like restriction. So you've got these two powerful outer planets here that are impacting soft planet Venus. And so when Jupiter is looking at Venus, it really makes you quite focused on relationships. You're all about romance and love. You can be quite indulgent. It really expands those natural Venus meanings. For example, you might be also focused on now with the 7th house in partnerships. Perhaps you're self-employed or you work in the business of meeting people. Really utilize this Venus transit here for yourself, as Venus has that glamour of being charming, being drawn to you, people be drawn to you. So if there's any partnerships you've been wanting to pursue in terms of your work, it's a really great time to do that as well. Things might glide a bit more naturally. You'll be focused on creating comforts in your life, your money, that kind of Venusian quality. With Saturn aspecting Venus here, it can add a lot of stability and makes things quite serious, dependent, that kind of vibes, and it also adds a lot of commitment and longevity to relationships and things like that. With Saturn, however, on Venus, it can make you feel a bit frustrated with your emotions and how you're feeling. But hopefully, Jupiter should bring some strength in there to kind of help you with a bit smooth sailing. And Venus also rules your 2nd house. And 2nd house going to the 7th house lord, it's really great as well in terms of how I spoke a short while ago about your finances and money. If you've been wanting, you might have been thinking about how to expand that, this is a really good time for you. Like I said, with the 7th house, use your resources, the people people you want to connect with. Now is really the time to draw in on that. Moving into this Virgo, Mars and Mercury transit. The Mercury loves being in its own sign of Virgo. It's exalted here as well. And the 6th house is all about your daily routines, your day to day, your work, obstacles, litigation. It's quite a varied house, and it also represents health and healing, which so does the sign Virgo. So now is a really great time for you, Aries, to just focus on your health a bit more. You might find with Mars being in the 6th house as well, that health problems start to crop up. So this is something to be aware of, and just tap into that mercurial strength here. And you know, Mars is your 1st house ruler. It's your planet of power. So really tap into that energy in terms of like working through your health and really supporting yourself at the moment. You may be, you know, receiving some kind of obstacles, or perhaps a bit of unevenness in the workplace. So really utilize that Mercury in Virgo to really be to hone in on your communication skills here. Because the thing is, you've got your North Node Rahu, it is also aspecting that 6th house, and that can add a lot of explosive energy. It can make you quite like very urgent to get things done. And with Virgo and Mars, which is the planet that rules our anger and our power, it kind of feels unsettled in the sign of Virgo. It often, with the Virgo element, it can make you feel quite frustrated that you can't quite convey what you're trying to get out, and it can be quite explosive anger, you know, when you hold everything in and then it all just comes out at once. So just watch out for that. Really tap into the Virgo element of, you know, being very good at analytical things, good at details, good at planning, etc. And so utilize those skills within the workplace to get things done and allow some harmony in the relationship as well. So let's have a look into this energetic read and look at the cards that have been pulled for Aries at the moment. So we have the 4 of paper, signature, and we have telekinesis. And just by seeing this sword, you know, it really gives me that strong Aries power energy, that fighter ability that you have. So it's suggesting during this transit, you know, you really got to draw upon those Mars qualities that you have as your first lord of your house, your ascendant sign, and that's your willpower and the strength to overcome any obstacles. Tap into that resilience that you have inside and that strength to kind of make things a bit smoother for yourself in that workplace environment. You know, really take a step back and think before you speak, take a step back and think before you act. So you're able to conquer these obstacles that may come up during this period of time in this month. I think the great element here as well is this idea of influence. You know, Aries are very a cardinal sign, very powerful initiators, very much go, go, go. You have the sun in its own house, in the 5th house, in its own sign, sorry. That brings even more power there. So you have this ability to influence others, and it's almost like, where are you going to channel this? And with the 4 of paper, there's this idea of being very structured and planning things, as you can see from the imagery here. And you know, that really connects into that 6th house energy we spoke about, and Mercury. Tap into this ability of yourself that you have, this with the sign of Virgo, being logical, being very analytical. It's almost like these things become instinctual for you when Mercury is transiting in its own sign. And how can you transfer this skill and ability into different parts of your life? But also, how can you use this to support others? You know, 6th house is the house of healing. I feel this is an invitation for you to really get to the roots. You know, if there's any chronic health problems or anything that comes up, give yourself a break. You know, focus on healing. It's okay to stop and take some time out when things get on top of us. And I think there's asking for a balance of self-care here, because there's a lot of energy going on, a lot of movement, a lot of go. So it's also, how can we turn this energy around and indulge in ourselves more, especially with that Venus in the 7th house. Tap into those Venusian attributes within yourself: self-care, pampering, luxury. Really allow yourself to experience those, instead of always being feeling that you have to get things done, work, be productive, etc. So it's almost like finding the balance here in between. So I hope this reading was helpful, Aries. Do let me know in the comments below anything you're looking forward to this month. if this reading resonated with you. If you would like a one-to-one birth chart reading, check out in the description box below my links to my website and any tarot readings as well. Also, if you haven't already and you really enjoyed this reading, please do like, subscribe and share. I hope you have a great first half of September, and I'll see you very soon for part 2. Welcome in, Taurus. If you are a Taurus rising or a Taurus moon sign, this reading is for you. So let's have a look about the planetary movement. So your first house lord, which is Venus, your ascendant lord, is currently in its own sign of Libra in the 6th house for you. And this transit will happen on the 5th of September, along with the movement of Mars in your 5th house, with Mercury in the sign of Virgo on the 5th also. And so focusing on these planets at the moment for September, we can really see that the focus is going to be on your 5th and 6th house, which is really exciting. You know, with your 5th house being enlivened by Mars and Mercury, there is going to be a focus on creativity here for you, with that Mercury in its own sign of Virgo, which it loves to be in. Mercury rules your 2nd house, and it also rules your 5th house. So this is a great time for you to really go into your skills, any skills you have, any hobbies, any creative aspects that you enjoy. Definitely spend your time immersing yourself in this, because it's not only going to bring you joy, but you're really going to be able to thrive doing these things. And with that connection of the 2nd house and the 5th, this is really indicative of like also being able to make money from your skills and hobbies, your creativity, your artistic aspect in that sense as well. Perhaps you are a writer, and this 5th house Mercury here really helps, because Virgo is very analytical, logical. You know, this is the communicator sign. So any kind of maybe blocks you've been experiencing, this could actually help with that. So tap into that mercurial energy here. We've also got the North Node for you is actually aspecting this 5th house. So this can add a lot of like fieriness to it, because you've already got fiery Mars in there, right? And then it also makes you quite ambitious. You know, North Node Rahu is insatiable. It just wants to get and create. So this is some positive aspect of it that you can tap into, right? In terms of Mars being here for you, Mars rules your 12th and 7th house. So here there shows, I feel like there's a connection here now with your relationship with your 7th lord going into your 5th house. And with Mars, it can make you quite what's the word, like fiery in relationships. So if you are currently seeing someone, or you know, there's somebody that you want to pursue or something like that, you could be quite strong-headed with that and really going for it, and maybe, you know, like deeply falling in love kind of thing. Also, if you're a student or study of any sort, it doesn't have to be like technically academic education. This is going to be a really good time for you, because Mars is going to make you really focused and wanting to dominate studying in your life, and Mercury is going to help you get that kind of clear understanding in terms of work and such like that. You know, 5th house is also the house of sports, and Mars being in there also helps with that. So I feel like for you, Taurus, it's a really good time to kind of mix work and play. Like 5th house is the house of enjoyment as well, and doing things that we love, entertainment, that kind of thing. So allow yourself to really experience that, as well as all the hard-working energy you've got here that's going on too. Mars will also be aspecting your 8th house, your 11th house of gains, and your 12th house. So there's this connection to perhaps if you want to deepen your spirituality right now. It's a really good time, I feel, for you in terms of like work and studying, if you've been struggling with that as well. Mars aspecting your 11th house of gains is going to make you very dominative and like very assertive for going forward in terms of bringing money into your life also here. With Venus in that 6th house, this is a really great time for you also to be of service. 6th house is the house of healing and health as well. So perhaps this is something you wanted to explore in terms of being of service and supporting people. 6th house is also the house of pets and animals. So perhaps, you know, fostering or volunteering is a really great time. You'd also want to be mindful of any health issues cropping up, with your first lord Venus in that 6th house as well. So that's something for you to be mindful of. Let's have a look here. You do have that expansive Jupiter looking at that 6th house as well, and Saturn adding its kind of seriousness on it. So it's almost like make sure you have that time for some R&R. So let's have a look at the cards for you. So we've got, it feels like for me here right off the bat, we've got lots of earth energy here with the green, lots of focusing on the heart center with the green colors representing the heart Anahata chakra. We've got the Ace of Paper here, which is all about building, you know, coming together and harmony. It's about the blending of two. And then we've got Herbal Craft here, which is all about regeneration, caretaking. So for me, the Herbal Craft card is really speaking to looking after yourself. You know, you're having quite an intense time since your South Node and North Node Rahu and Ketu went into your 1st and 7th house back in last September. And when the nodes are in the 1st and 7th house, this can be quite transformative, intense energy. So what are you doing to look after yourself is what I feel the energy is coming in here for Tauruses. It's almost like you need to tap into that Taurus energy of loving that kind of relaxation, rest, chilled vibe. It's time to really focus on self-healing right now and in a natural way. So if anybody is familiar or interested in aromatherapy or Ayurveda, it's a very good thing to get into right now. It's about supporting your body within, right? The plant medicine, as we can see here. And then we have that role of caretaker when we spoke about Venus in your 6th house, but it's also the caretaker of yourself. You know, have you Tauruses been making time for yourself, or has it just been for others? And then we've got this idea of malleability and versatility. And I feel like this is quite strong in terms of speaking of the transits that's happening in your 5th house right now. You know, when you have malleability, it's almost like, where is the give and take? Is there too much giving? Is there too much taking? Finding that balance in between, coming together and working with people, you know, blend of two, harmony. And I feel like this is really pointing towards a relationship aspects of versatility. Are you giving too much in a relationship right now? Is it balanced 50-50? This is something you need to look at. Something that you can come together with your partner or your future partner to make sure that this is a relationship of harmony. You know, it's equal in terms of how much you give, and also in terms of what you do. You know, is this a one-sided relationship where one person's interests get to take over and the other person just has to agree with it? So there's a lot of kind of like soul searching and going inwards here, and some heart healing as well. And so I also feel like recommending for Tauruses at the moment to work with fluorite as a crystal. So if you have not got that, work with fluorite has just come to me, and I think that will really support you during this time. So thank you so much, Taurus risings and moon sign, for listening in on your reading. I hope it was helpful. Definitely leave me a comment below and let me know how this reading landed for you. I'll be back for part 2 from the 14th to the end of September. If you'd like a private birth chart reading, you can see my details below. And please do subscribe, like, and share. I'll see you very soon. Welcome in, Geminis. If you are Gemini rising or a Gemini moon sign, this reading is for you. So the transits we'll be looking at are from the 1st of September to the 13th. So let's kick off by looking at your chart. So on the 5th of September, Venus will be moving into your 5th house in its own sign of Libra, and Mars will also be moving into your 4th house just over there in the sign of Virgo, along with Mercury, its sign ruler. So let's have a look first at this Venus transit for you. The Venus in the 5th house can be really exciting. You know, you will, I mean, Venus is, 5th house is traditionally ruled by Leo, the sign Leo. And Leo loves to be seen, loves to be celebrated, very kingly. So Venus here is kind of similar in that way. You really would enjoy attention and people being drawn to you and things such as that. This is a really great time for you to get creative. You're really going to be feeling like ideas are coming to you more effortlessly, especially with the fifth lord in the fifth house. You've got your 12th lord, which is Venus, into your fifth house. So there is this connection and communication with the foreign lands abroad, or people who are foreign from you, as in someone that could be in a different country. There is that connectivity there. So relationships can be made in terms of, it could be romantic, but it also could be linked to work and business. So that's something exciting. So really allow yourself to be immersed in those ideas. Venus in Libra can be very inspired. Libra represents an abundance of Venusian beauty, harmony, desire. Very exciting for you. During this transit, you also do have Jupiter, which is in your 9th house retrograde, and Saturn, which is retrograde in your 10th house, both aspecting the sign of Libra. So this can impact those kind of relationships we spoke about. 5th house is the house of romance. And so with Saturn there, it adds an element of seriousness. It could also bring a bit of frustration and restriction, difficulty with expressing emotion. Equally, at the same time, you do have expansive Jupiter showing up there for you. So this can soften some of that energy. So that is something to be aware of. With Mars and Mercury in your 4th house now. So Mercury rules your 1st house, which is your Lagna Lord, which is really exciting. And it also rules your 4th house of home. So this is going to show that life at the moment is going to be all about the home environment, the place that you live in, if you live with your family. Equally, your relationship with your mother, which is ruled by the 4th house. When Mars can be in here, especially in the sign of Virgo, sometimes emotions can be a bit stifled, and there can be that explosive anger. Virgo is quite a particular sign, can be kind of nitpicky at times. So this kind of dynamic can play out with your relationship with your mother, or kind of like the females that you live with in the house. However, with Mars and Mercury here, there is this focus on your home environment. So perhaps you might be feeling more inclined to change up your space, make the environment feel like yours, homely, exactly what you want. And Mercury will really help you to organize things. So if you've been wanting to have a clear out and things like that. Equally, when Mars transits the 4th house as well, it could indicate a move. So perhaps you've been thinking about moving or real estate, things like that. So let's have a look into the cards that we have for Gemini. So Gemini, we have the card of Sylphs and 3 of Inkwell. Focusing on this card, first of all, this is all about abundance and alchemy. As you can see, all the colors are mixing together and they're all bright and vibrant. And it's this idea of things coming together, drawing upon your resources. This for me is really indicative of that 5th house Venus transit for you right now. Allow yourself to immerse yourself in abundance and joy. I feel like for Geminis, it could have been a bit of a rough time for a while, especially with that Saturn retrograde transiting your 8th house as well. There's time to kind of add some softness into your life here. Venus is aspecting your 11th house of gains also for its 7th house, its 7th aspect. And so really tap into that resourcefulness. What are some, key skills you have? What are some things that are your, you just naturally flow at? How can you support yourself with them? How can you support others with these things? That's coming up here as well. Really tap into that 5th house of fun. Perhaps you haven't been feeling so excited and joyful at the moment. Maybe health problems have been surfacing up for you. Really get back to the root of the things you do. 4th house is all about your inner happiness now as well. It rules the inner happiness. So really focus on that. What are some things that really light you up and make you feel good about yourself and in yourself? Because that could have been neglected for some time. So it's almost like going back to the parts of you that that make you feel fun and curious, the things that make you feel adventurous. What's something that's been on your list that you haven't been able to tick off? Being really adventurous at this time and allowing yourself to flow. It's almost like if you feel abundant within yourself, abundance will also flow back to you. So we can see with this whole alchemy of colors here. With the energy here, I believe that sylphs are part of the fairy family. And so there's this idea of agent of change. What's the change that you want to create for yourself? We're talking about this fourth house transit of home, but a home environment can really affect us a lot. And if it doesn't feel like your safe space or the place that you can be in, it can impact you. So allow yourself to be that agent of change. Take charge, tap into that Mars energy, and really start making the decisions that are right for you rather than just always focusing on other people here, Gemini. And just think about your impact. I really want this transit to be strong for your self-esteem. You know, you've got the sun transiting your third house, the third house of courage, this third house of skills, communication. So really tap into that power that you have with that sun in Leo at the moment, and know that you're a powerful person that is able to impact others and also create change in life. So whatever your calling is, it's time for you to also get out in the world, Gemini, and express yourself. Share your thoughts and feelings with others. You never know, there might be other people that need to hear what you have to say, some people that can relate. And also, it's a transition for you, you know, getting things off your chest allows you to process things also. So seems like a busy almost first 2 weeks of September for Gemini, but a lot of potential here. So I really hope this reading has helped. Do let me know in the comments how this reading went down for you. If you'd like a one-to-one birth chart reading or any of my other services, you can check out my link in the bio. Also, please do, if you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe and share, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Thank you. Welcome in Cancer. If you are a Cancer rising or moon sign, this reading is for you. So let's go into your transit. So you can see here that a lot of the focus is going to be about your fourth house of home and your third house. And that is because on the 5th of September, Libra will be receiving Venus in that fourth house for you. And Mars will be moving into your third house with Mercury in the sign of Virgo. So the focus will be very much on your inner world of home and your relationships with the family, but also your outer world, your relationship with your siblings, people, masses, because the third house also rules mass communication. It also has a connection to media, hobby, and skills. And you've got this very powerful planet, Mars, and your communicator, Mercury, in that third house for you. Mercury rules for you your 12th and your third house, so your third and your third. This is really great for business. So if you have been wanting to get a business opportunity off the ground or currently are in your business, this is a great time for you to put yourself out there as much as possible, sharing your work, getting connected with others. This is going to make you feel quite social with Mercury in that third house, as it naturally does own the third house with Gemini. And so really take advantage of this transit. You know, Virgo can make us very analytical, very specific. So the way you communicate, you can really kind of hone in on this to kind of get that clarity out there. However, with Mars here, it can make you quite fiery in your speech. You know, if you rub Virgos the wrong way, they will let you know. It's almost about achieving that balance, because you do have Rahu, the North Node, aspecting this third house here. But I really suggest a great time for you also to focus on your hobbies and skills. Like, everything's going to flow right now. Everything's going to feel very much in sync as well. Third house is a house of short distance journeys, and the Mars and Mercury is aspecting your 9th house over here of long distance journeys. So definitely travel is on the books here right now. And with the 12th house connected to the third house, this shows this connection and communication with the foreign element, to kind of cementing that travel if you've been thinking about going away very soon, or getting connected with other people from, you know, abroad, somewhere different from you. Mars here rules your 10th house of career, social standing, status, business, and your 5th house of creativity, study, work. 5th house has a lot of significations, and this is in your third house. Mars thrives in the third house because it's the house of courage, and Mars is a courageous planet here. you're going to be feeling very kind of self-assured in yourself. Like you are ready to take risks, Cancer. Like this is your time to step into that. You're going to be feeling brave. You're going to be focused on going for what you want. Third house is a house of self-effort. So it's like all your hard work now is going to come up for you. Really focus in on, hone in on that, because you've got Sun in your second house as well of speech. So the only thing to really be careful is just being careful with the way you speak and the words that come out, and just make sure, it's not too harsh, kind of taking that pause there. And you've got this really nice 10th house transit into the third house. So really getting out about your work and your business, perhaps on social platforms, journals and journalism and things as such like that. Looking at Venus for you in that fourth house, Venus likes being in the fourth house. It gets big Bala in the fourth house. So this is going to make you feel really good in your home space. You're going to be feeling very creative. You're going to be wanting to make your home feel luxurious, pampering yourself. Artistically, if you've been thinking about redecorating or changing things up, this is going to feel really good to you equally as well. So very focused on that design element as well. And this is going to connect into your relationship with the family. It's going to feel good. You're going to be feeling like quite close to your mother in terms of like, reconnecting or having an even stronger bond and spending time within the family. And this Venus is aspecting your 10th house of career. The Mars transit is activating that 10th house by rulership, but also Venus is looking there too. So maybe you've been thinking of a transition. How can you take your business to your home and meld the two? Maybe you want to work from home, something around that kind of connection there for you as well. And perhaps if you've got any business ideas, this Venus energy is something that you can really tap into to kind of draw in that magnetism as well. Saturn and Jupiter will also be aspecting that Venus, so that can add a bit into play in terms of your relationships at home. So there might be this kind of element of seriousness as well with that Saturn there, so kind of adds pressure onto that soft Venusian side. But equally, you've got Jupiter aspecting, bringing some strength too. So a very exciting time for you. And you also have some inner work, it seems, here with the cards. So lots of expansion, but almost not a time for you to think, not to forget to think about yourself. We've got the mirror here. So when the mirror card comes up for me, it's very much about looking beyond illusions. Rahu, the North Node, is the planet of illusion, the planet of Maya. It can cast a lot of, make us think we want something and then we realize that's not the case, or make us think we understand something and it's not the case here, right? And so for you, it's aspecting that third house. So really, do that work before you put yourself out there. This is a reflection process. So really, it's a time to look in the literal mirror and the metaphorical mirror and see, okay, who am I? What are the parts of myself that I am ready to show others? Because this is truth, right? Everybody has like a public face and a personal face in terms of parts that they are willing to show of themselves, not create, but actually show. So now is the time where it seems like you're very much in the public sphere. How are you going to show yourself? Are you going to allow people to see that deeper part of you, Cancers, that kind of nurturing, emotional, intrinsic ability to support and look after others and be empathetic? Are you ready to allow that to flow out of you? It's almost like these are the self-inquiry you have to do, because ultimately, by being your true self and kind of taking that outer crab shell off, Cancers, people are going to really see you for who you are, and you don't know what connections you'll miss by keeping that shell on and like showing a hard exterior, right? So it's an invitation for you to do some inquiry work. And with the opening circle, I think fits quite nicely into this, because as we open a circle before practices, there is a part of the ritual that asks for protection. So you can have this protective element, do a protective practice that resonates with you before you go out into the world. Something that makes you feel stronger inside and, feel like you have good boundaries, safe boundaries, right? And you don't break those and people don't push in. A great stone crystal I would recommend for you is obsidian because it is very protective. It's one of my favorite crystals. Um, Let me see if I can pull one out to show you. So this is an obsidian arrowhead, but you can also get obsidian in different forms as well. So I would definitely recommend obsidian to you for protection. You know, you can keep it with you, or you can keep it on your altar or by your bedside. Just something that you can draw strength from and perhaps use in your protection ritual. And this is the element here that is going to support you for this transit. I also want to expand on the idea of opening a circle. Opening a circle is the beginning of something. You're setting the intention and setting the seeds. So really going back to how we described in the transit reading, what is the stuff that you want to put out in the world? Also, what is the inner work and self-work that you are ready to stand up and do? It's almost time to set that in space in whatever way that might take shape for yourself. So Cancers, I hope this was a helpful reading. Do let me know in the comments below how this reading resonated. And if you would like a one-to-one birth chart reading, check out my offerings below. And please do subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you. Welcome in, Leos. If you are a Leo rising or a Leo moon sign, this reading is for you. So the activation for the transits we're focusing on is going to be in your second and your third house, which is really exciting. This is quite a strong time for Leos at the moment. Your first house lord, the sun, is in its first house, giving you kind of that strength of your ego especially, and like how you feel about yourself, your self-esteem, right? And then you've got the activation of the second house of speech and wealth, and the third house of communication, artistic pursuits, business. You know, your 10th house ruler is Venus, which is currently got the North Node in it, and it is going into that third house. So really great time for your business. If you've had any ideas you want to get off the ground, or anything that you've been wanting to really launch and you've been sitting on it, it should be a good time for you. You know, Venus in the third house of communication can make you quite charming, alluring, especially with your speech and like the aura that you have within yourself. So really use that to your advantage. This is great time for really honing in on your skills as well, and making that a priority will be really helpful to you. You've got this happening in your third house, which is aspecting your ninth house. So this is indication of traveling, whether it's like somewhere nearby within your area, but then you've got that ninth house, which is long distance travel. So that's really exciting. With Venus aspecting that ninth house as well for you, this is activating, you know, your inner wisdom. You might be really interested now in terms of like really exploring philosophy, your inner wisdom and your beliefs, with Venus aspecting that ninth house. Really working with any teachers or mentors, or perhaps even like you're starting to own that part of yourself, Leo. That is very good for you too. So moving to that second house with Mars and Mercury there, this is going to be making you really focus on your finances. And I feel for Leo this has been happening for a while, especially last month where your sun was in the 12th house, so there could have been quite a few expenses, and equally there could be some now. So really tap into this transit here and focus on your finances, plan, budget, all sorts of things. Make sure that you are on top of these things, because it's going to help you. You know, we've spoken earlier in the other readings about Virgo with Mars and Mercury. You know, Virgo can be very direct and straight to the point, and this is the house of speech, and you've got Mars there. So you might be feeling a bit unfiltered and just like getting everything out. And this is also the house of family, so there might be a bit of stress in the family environment. So really take your time to take a breath and just, you know, really think about what you want to say before you want to get it out, because this can, you know, affect that in some sense. But at the same time, it's going to be very good for you to focus on your finances and push that energy, that kind of power and anger and churn, and push that into the financial sides for yourself. That's going to be quite supportive for you as well. One of the main reasons I was talking about finances earlier is because Mercury does rule your house, the second house of finances, and the 11th house of gains as well. And Mercury obviously being in the sign of Virgo is in good dignity. So I just wanted to bring that up again for you to really utilize that. We do have Rahu North Node aspecting that second house. So there could be some confusion around their illusion. So it's a good, like, I just want to emphasize being on top of the financial aspects for yourself as well. So let's have a look at the cards that we've pulled for you, Leos. So we've got this amazing dreamer card, and oh, we've got snakeskin. There's a lot of metamorphosis going on here. Very powerful energy, and also very kind of separate. We've got a lot of fire here, which is indicative of your rising sign, and we've also got a lot of blue here, which for me is an activation of your throat chakra. You know, especially with that Mars and Mercury there, like I said, there could be some explosiveness in terms of like just the way you get things out if people push you too much. But I really want you to connect also to the soft side of your throat chakra. I feel like there's a calling for healing your voice, and I feel like that's something literal and metaphorical. You might be having some voice problems, some sore throat, something like that. So something that you need to heal. But also it's almost like there's been a lot of things that you've been holding back and pushing down and haven't been able to express. And so now is the time to do that. And I feel like for Leos, a really great way of doing that is through singing, chanting, mantra, whatever is your calling, you know, and really step out of that frame of feeling silly and just going through it anyway, right? Being uncomfortable is where we grow the most in that sense. So anything to activate and heal your voice that feels good to you, I think is going to be powerful. And the dreamer card is just very uplifting because, you know, as we tapped into the transits, this is the time for you to live those dreams. All of the things that you've been working towards, all the things that you want to create and create for yourself and others in life, it's the time to stop like sleeping on it and dreaming about it. And for you, Leos, to really realize that, you know, this is a very much a possibility here. This is the time for you to explore your desires and equally take your time in getting them out there. You know, don't just feel like you have to rush and utilize the planetary placements. You depends on your dasha as well. There could be some activation, but you know, this is the time for you to get really clear on these things. And also allow yourself some time, downtime. This is a very active transit at the moment. So allow yourself to dream, allow yourself to explore what's the word I want to use? Healthy escapism, you know, just, you know, things that you enjoy that take you away from the real world within reason. And I really want to focus on the snakeskin card. This is showing a big metamorphosis change. You know, this really links to the 8th house and Scorpio. And we have this activation of the coiled serpent when we think about Kundalini energy starting at the base of the spine. So this is very much a spiritual activation for you, but also it's an activation of the hidden, the secrets. What is left for you to explore? There is almost something, you know, we think about secrets. For me, I think about the 8th house and the 12th house also. So it's time for you to go deeper within there. What is left untouched? For example, perhaps if you are an astrologer or do some form of divination, it's time for you to go deeper into that practice. If you have rituals that you go through and that you do, it's time for you to explore deeper. There is something that is hidden yet that hasn't come to light, and it's almost like a reminder for you not to doubt your power and what you can do and what you are able to explore. I'm really feeling this connection as well to mantra, and I really invite you to explore mantra and in terms of the power that it can hold for you. You know, your rising sign lord is the sun, so doing a mantra for the sun, Surya, would be powerful as well. Something to also strengthen you, because when we go through metamorphosis and you think about the transformation and how a snake sheds all its skin, it can be quite powerful, it can be quite difficult and testing. So you need something to support you along the way. Equally, it's also a sign of not to be afraid of this. You know, we all get put into difficult circumstances and situations. However, there's also the other side of it that there's an outcome. You know, it's the experience we have to experience, but also on the other side of it, we learn something. There is some sort of growth. and that is something for you and that you are called to explore right now. So I hope this reading was helpful, Leos, and do let me know in the comments below how this resonated, or if this is some information that you needed to hear. And if you would like a one-to-one birth chart reading or any other of my offerings, you can check out my website in the link below. And if you've enjoyed this video, please do like, share and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Welcome, Virgos. If you are a Virgo rising or a moon sign, this reading is for you. So with the transits we're looking at, which is Venus in Libra and Mars and Mercury in Virgo, there is an activation of your first and second house. Let's go to Venus first, because this is really lovely. It's activating your speech, and Venus rules your second and your ninth house. This is a really great time. Just use your voice. If you are a singer, having Venus in the second is beautiful, so really go for it. And this for me is going to be a really healing time for your voice and your throat chakra as well, to really take advantage of it, Virgos. You've been calling for some softness in your life and in your body, and so this is supporting you here, because Venus, when it was in Virgo in your Lagna, could be having some sort of disruption. Venus and Virgo don't meld very well, and when it's aspecting the seventh house of relationships and it's in your ascendant, it can make you quite fault finding, nitpicky. There could be some disharmony there in the relationships, and the way your frustrations and you express yourself could have not felt how you truly are and how you express yourself, or could have caused some problems. So Venus moving here is really nice for you, so I really want you to utilize that transit. Do some healing practices for your voice, singing, mantra, as I've mentioned before in previous videos, anything that feels good. Working with blue crystals, especially I would recommend blue lace agate. And you could do something as simple as lying down and just sitting the crystal on your throat chakra area would be very powerful for you as well. And the second house is also the house of family. So this might be a time where you're feeling like you want to get connected. You guys are feeling good with one another, really kind of thinking about the fond times and the good times here as well. Venus is luxury, and equally so is Libra here. So you might be like, this is a house of finances. So you could be spending your money on like luxury items, beauty, making yourself look good, feel good, like your appearance. Equally, you'll be focusing in on bringing money in too. There's also a connection here with the ninth house ruler and the second in terms of luck and finances. And I feel like there also might be some room for travel on the cards for you as well, Virgo risings too. Let's have a look also. Actually, one thing I wanted to mention as well with Venus in there, second house also represents food. So you might be more attracted to like sweet things and stuff like that. So really watch like your teeth and your diet in that sense. And we do have that Saturn retrograde and Jupiter retrograde both aspecting Venus in that second house. So that can also bring some I had a bit of a serious element with the Saturn. And then you've got that expansion in Jupiter. So just be aware as well that Venus might not be as smooth sailing as you expect it. Especially in the second house, it's hemmed between two malefics. You've got Ketu in the third house after it, and you've got Mars in the first house before it. So, Venus won't be in its full potential, but very much so very strong for you as well. So let's have a look at the Mars and Mercury transit for you. So Mercury rules your first and 10th house, is your Lagna Lord. So very powerful for it to be entering your first house. Equally, Mars rules your third and 8th house, and it moves into your first house. So the focus here is going to be on you, right? With it in the sign of Virgo and your first house, you might be focusing on your life path now. Just all that, your kind of journey from the last transit of last year when Mercury entered your first house. How has your life been over the last year? Has it aligned with what you wanted it to be and what you thought you wanted? So you might be focusing now on what you really want in life for yourself, what you want to put out there too. Especially in the sign of Virgo, you'll be focused on Virgo like things, for example, health and healing, being of service to people, supporting, that kind of thing. And also working through relationships now is going to be powerful, because Mars and Mercury are aspecting that seventh house. So how can you utilize that energy in a conducive way. Also with that seventh house aspect, you know, getting connected with the business partners or getting connected with potential people that can support you in life with that transit. You know, you'll be very much focused on that with Mars and Mercury. And when Mars is in the first house as well, especially as the third house ruler, there's going to be an emphasis on activity. So, you know, you might be really focused on sports at the moment. Really focus also, you might be focusing on your health, but if you're not, there is something to think about as well, and just being mindful of those sorts of things too. So let's have a look at the cards. So we have the lovely card of family here, and we also have Ocean's Muse. This is really nice. We've got this idea of kinship and belonging. So it's almost like, you know, some people who, depending on your situation, your blood family members might not feel like your family. And so just knowing to connect with your community, you know, if you're feeling like there's a gap in your life where you're looking for your sister role model or your brother relationship and it's not in your actual family, know that you can find that in other people, you know, your community. There is that strength there. So if you don't have a sense of community, now is that time to find a place where you belong, that you feel whole, that the people who you can call your family support you, and equally you support them and bring light into their life. If you do have a supportive family, this is indicative of really spending some time together. You know, as we grow older, we do change. So really getting connected with your parents or your siblings or whoever you're close to, and, you know, finding out what's going on in their life at the moment, really giving some attention, detail and care to this part of your life. With Ocean's Muse, I really love this energy because it's just bringing some water in among the earthiness that is Virgo, right? And so this is asking you to go inwards with Ocean's Muse. You know, give yourself some quiet time. Virgos, I feel like, naturally can feel overstimulated because you're so information orientated, analytical and detailed. Like, it's very busy and a pacing mind it can be at times, especially now you've got Mars and Mercury in your first house. And so this is an invitation for you to go inwards, Virgo, making sure you have that sanctuary and time to switch off. And very much as we've got this imagery of the jellyfish, I feel like this is an invitation for you to spend some time near water. So if you're lucky enough to live by a beautiful lake or river, definitely go there. If not, you know, you can equally, you know, pour a bowl of water and put your feet in it with some salt, some salts. So anything that can connect you to this element is going to support you. And allow that kind of time to go inwards here. So if you are able to, like, barefoot and go and step into some water, use that time as your meditation practice. Allow yourself to soak up water's wisdom because it has something to share with you, and it's also going to be very healing. So do make that time for yourself to separate, like, so you have both elements, right? Community connection and also time for self. And it's equally important that these are balanced, right? You can't be all in family and all about that and neglect yourself. And equally, shutting yourself off from everyone can be difficult, and difficult for yourself as well. So it's all about striking that balance. Having time for yourself and having time with other people is going to be really supportive for you from this transit from the 1st of September to the 13th. So I hope this was helpful, Virgos. Do let me know in the comments below if you would like a one-to-one tarot reading or a birth chart reading. Do check out my link in the description box for my website and offerings. And if you enjoyed this video, I'd love it if you subscribe and like and share. So I will see you for part 2 very soon. Welcome in, Libra. If you are a Libra rising sign or a Libra moon sign, this reading is for you. So first we're going to have a look at the key transits for the first half of September for you. Let's start off with the planet Venus, because this is lovely. This is your Lagna Lord and it is entering your first house. So this will feel quite nice for you as it's in its own sign. You might be feeling very conscious about the way that you look at the moment. You know, Venus is the sign of beauty, of luxury, of pleasure. And being in that first house, it might be focusing on your body, how you feel within your body, the way that you look. So you might be focused on beautifying yourself on the inside and out in whatever way that may look like to you. And Venus here also brings happiness in the first house. So for Libras, this is quite of a mixed transit because we've got the Mercury and Mars in your 12th house, house of endings, house of spirituality, house of the past. 12th house has many significations. So there's a few things happening here. There's this focus on self with Venus, and then there's a focus of things coming to a close, things coming to an end, the subconscious. So this feels like quite a personal transit for you. Along with that Venus in your first house, as you can see, it is opposite your 7th house. So it will be aspecting that 7th house of relationship, which Uranus retrograde is also there too. So you might be feeling in the kind of mind space to really be exploring your partnership if you have a romantic partner or someone you're with, working on the relationship, really what kind of like being focused on that, right, and wanting to bring some happiness in there, recommunicate. Equally, the 7th house represents our business partners too, so it's that time to be connected with people. You can be very charming and alluring when Venus is in Libra, and even more so in the first house, so really use that to your advantage. You do have with the Venus in the first house, however, aspecting that Uranus, it can cause with Uranus retrograde in the 7th house, there could be some pressure on the relationships, especially because with Venus in your first house currently when this transit happens, Saturn will be aspecting and also Jupiter. And Saturn brings this kind of restrictive element to things, so it can make you feel quite serious in relationships. If we imagine the significations of Saturn and Venus and kind of putting those together, so you might be really like approaching your relationship in a very serious way, very planned, and wanting to get things sorted and come ahead to whatever's been going on. And then you have the Jupiter retrograde, which will be in the sign of Aquarius until the 14th of September, also aspecting that Venus in the first house. So really expanding on that element of expansion, as I said earlier, being really focused on your relations and things like that. Venus rules your first house, and it also rules your 8th house, which Rahu is currently sitting in. And so with that 8th lord in the first house, that transit there can be, the 8th house is a house of ups and downs and major transformation. And when a planet like Rahu is in there as well, it can cause a lot of confusion. Rahu's an insatiable planet. It just wants to gorge on everything. It's never ending. And with Rahu, there's an element of illusion. And so you could be experiencing some transformative events during this month, Libra, with that 8th house coming into the first house rulership. But just something to remember with those difficulties that come to pass is that, after every cycle of a low and down, there is an element of transformation and you being able to grow and, learn something and develop yourself from that. So that is something to, draw some strength from. You do have Mercury and Mars in that 12th house, as I mentioned earlier, in the sign of Virgo. And so let's have a look at Mars first. So Mars is your 2nd house ruler and your 7th house ruler. So Mars is ruling your money, your childhood, your family, and it's also ruling your relationships and partnerships here. And when it goes into the 12th house, like it is in this transit, especially in the sign of Virgo, this can have you really, especially with Mercury there, this could have the mind thinking about the past, things of the past coming up. There's a lot of retrograde planets at the moment, and Mercury will also eventually be going retrograde. So this is a time to really reflect and look to what you want to change and the things that need to be revisited in your life. You could be accruing a lot of expenses this month with that 12th house there, because that does rule expenses as well. So being mindful on money, being mindful also the way you communicate and speak, because even though Mercury loves to be in the sign of Virgo, Mars there can give that kind of bring some irritation when it comes into the sign of Virgo. It can have you feeling quite particular and really perfection orientated, and then this can kind of come out in the speech where it's this kind of stifled anger, because when Mars is in the sign of Virgo, it's almost like that, Mars rules anger and passion and fire, And so in that kind of sign, it feels a bit stifled. So sometimes it can just be very explosive. So something to focus on is your health and those expenses. And with the seventh house and the 12th, there's this nice connectivity to traveling abroad. Mercury is also your ninth house ruler going into that 12th house. So that also cements this travel period that's going on. And so this might be commuting for like a spiritual pilgrimage or some sort of connectivity in there towards your path, right? Your spiritual path, if that is something you follow. And this is a really great time where you've got your Mercury ruler and your Mars rulers all going into that 12th house to this signifies like a communication with a foreign element. So that could be through that travel abroad, but you'll be actually connecting with people who are very different from you. Anything that is foreign is like completely different from you, whether that's in country or heritage, or religion, for example. So there's this strength here. If anybody has a business or in a career that involves other people, this is a really great time for you to get connected with those kind of transits. But also be aware of your approach and your speech during this time as well. And 12th house, when we've got Mercury in there, it's a really nice creative element as well. And in the sign of Virgo, it almost makes you quite productive and very focused on what you're doing. So if there's like a book you've been wanting to write, this is 12th house is also the house of isolation. You can get really into some downtime, and focusing in on your projects and things such like that as well is really going to be nice for you. So let's now have a look at the cards and see, energetic wise, what to be expecting. So we've got the Guardians card here for you, and we've got the Mirror Magic. And instantly there is this connection here. Personally, I feel and see a sense of 12th house of subconscious and that kind of power that we have there. Reflections of the past, connecting into intuition as well. And very much so this need for intimacy and privacy. There's a lot of purple and blues going on here. And I feel like there's a time for you, Libra, to really connect towards your intuition, your gut instinct and your ability to like see beyond what is on the surface. It's time for you to tap into that. We have the Guardians here, which is all about pausing, safety and secrets. What is sacred to you is really what I feel like you need to be reflecting on during this time. What is sacred and special and important to you? And have you been losing focus on those things? Can you now create the time, especially with that 12th house transit, to go inwards and really immerse yourself into this kind of unknown world, things and parts of yourself that you have yet to discover, and also that private inner world of yourself that you don't share with other people, that place where you go inwards, that safe space and that haven for you. It's time to really set into motion things that are going to support you on your journey. We talked a bit about ups and downs with that eighth house moving into the eighth lord moving into the first house. And so what are some ways that you can support yourself when things become difficult? Where is that safe haven and that space there? And 12th house is also, as much as the 8th house just mentioned secrets, a lot of it is unknown. And so this is something that you're going to be able to explore through exploring your subconscious mind. And I think the mirror magic really complements this, because we talked about 12th house in the past, but this also represents past lives. So I'd also say, when you've got planets transiting your 12th house, dream work is very important. So if you are someone that likes to explore your dreams, I really recommend journaling every morning what happened in your dream, looking for common motifs and messages, something that you can then kind of interpret from keeping that journal, and it's going to support you along your journey of self-development. And it's really time for you to focus on that self-care of this card. Sometimes when we think about ourselves and all the things we have to do, we prioritize those, and sometimes we can often put ourselves on the back burner, and so self-care is lost in that space. It's almost like a mirror magic. The mirror is asking you to really look at yourself when you peel off all those layers that you put on when you put yourself into the world each day. And at the end of the day, really allow yourself to remove all those parts, those masks, and also the roles you play as a mother, as a friend, as a colleague. Like, remove all that and see beyond the surface of what your needs are and who you really are. It's time to really focus in on that. And with this lunar card and this focus on the moon, I really encourage you to go deep this new moon. Really treat this new moon as something that you get to seed, and make this one where you're focused on your intentions. I feel is going to be very important. So if you're able to carve out the time, work with the moon this, I believe, depending on your time zone, it will be on the 6th or the 7th of September. And you are welcome to join me. I hold moon circles every new moon and full moon, so you can definitely join us online for that. So Libra, I hope this reading was helpful. Do let me know in the comments below if anything resonated or what your thoughts are during this time. I feel like there's a lot of things happening for you at the moment, a lot of activation. And I will be back with your second half of this transit reading very shortly in part 2 video. And please do subscribe and like and share if you have not done also. Thank you. Welcome in, Scorpios. If you're a Scorpio rising or a moon sign, this reading is for you. So let's have a look at these transits. And so the main transits we're going to be looking at are taking place in your 11th and 12th house, just there, as you can see. And this is quite a nice time for you, Scorpios. There's a big activation of your 11th house, house of gains. And I feel like there's a balanced element here of working and being focused on your finances with that Mercury and Mars, and equally being focused on being of service and spiritual activation and pursuits with that Mars and Mercury there. It's really time for you to focus on your connections. You know, this 11th house is the house of networking, of your social circles, of you know, there's an element here of being connected with people from different spheres, in that you can elevate yourself. And so you'll be very focused on that money aspect, and so really utilize your connections that you have here. You know, if there's any opportunities for you to network, and just also enjoy being and spending time around your friends and the growth that can support you there and support one another there. And with the Mars here, Mars rules your first house of self, and it also rules your 6th house of like day-to-day daily life, your obstacles, being of service. And so this can make you very action orientated, and in the sense that you feel very strong to really take control, and you want to, you know, activate things and do things, for example, especially to do with that 11th house. With the 6th and the going into the 11th, there could be some gains in the form of being of service as well. So very service orientated. If you have any humanitarian projects or anything that, you know, any volunteering or things that you do in that nature, now is the time to really focus on those, because I feel like you can, the energy that you're receiving, you can really work hard to achieve there. And you know, you've got that Venus in the 12th house. Venus gets exalted in the sign of Pisces, which traditionally rules the 12th house. And for you, Venus rules your connectivity house, the 7th house of relationships, and then moving into that 12th house, which has that foreign element to it. This could indicate something going on with your love life here, possibly meeting someone abroad, or someone that is, I guess, a foreign from yourself, right? And this also has this link here to a spiritual pilgrimage travel. So there is some long distance activation here, if that's something you've been thinking of or been wanting to do. And also you can push your service orientation into the 12th house and in different spaces apart from the one that you occupy yourself. You do have that Saturn aspect and Jupiter aspect in that 12th house as well. So there can be this element of restrictiveness and seriousness. But in a sense, this can help you to be really focused on what you want to achieve. You know, 12th house is that house of subconscious. So there is that to explore there. It's in a culmination, a cycle, right? Venus has been through all the signs from your first house, and now it is entering that 12th house. So what is there yet to resolve, right? In terms of, I feel like this is really coming from you in a sense of yourself, self-care, love, healing. What needs to be resolved there? What needs to be worked on? What needs to be nurtured? And there's some specialness there. and really allow yourself when you're focusing on relationships with these transits to try and allow those gentler sides of you to come across as well, because Mars can add a lot of aggression, and it can be quite particular in the way it's expressed with that Mercury and the Mars in the Virgo sign, and then you've got Saturn there. Equally, Jupiter adds a bit of softness onto that 12th house, but it will be transiting on the 14th back into your third house. So Jupiter will no longer, Venus will no longer have that aspect coming forward. So let's have a look for you as well energetically through the cards and see what is going on. So we've got the book here, which is all about your identity and manifestation. And then we've got the songbird card as well, which is all about healing and releasing. And if anything, I feel like this is a bit of a testament to what I just shared through the transits that I feel like is happening for you. It's a really great time for you to let go and focus on releasing and all those things that have been building up, that have been troubling you for quite some time. As Scorpio signs naturally do go through some major transformative events in life. And Mercury does also rule your 8th house going into the 11th house, and that is that house of transformation. So what are you ready to let go of now? Really allow yourself to spend some time in that and think about it, because I think this is going to be very powerful for you. It's going to be releasing, and it's going to allow you to tap into those good Venusian qualities in Venus to heal yourself and relationships by allowing yourself to release. And this is also an activation of sound, of Nab. So if you are a person that loves to use your voice, this will be very freeing and softening here for you as well. Even more so, sound healing as in terms of receiving. So if you're able to go to a gong bath, if you're able to go to crystal bowl healing, any sort of sound healing, or recordings that you can listen to are going to be very healing and kind of support you and give you that strength to move forward. And I really love that the identity card came up for you, because it's almost like tapping into your subconscious and letting go of those things that have been lingering. And so now is the time for the part of yourself that's been hidden to come out, because the 12th house also represents the house of hidden things, of secrets as well. So it's almost like now is the time to tell your story. The 12th house of Venus can also give you that nice creative element, I feel. And so that's something to tap into. Maybe, on the off chance you have been thinking about sharing your story and your experiences in life, and perhaps that time is the time to do it. These transits will slowly be moving into your first house in the next few months. And so this is the time for you to really begin to think about what it is you want to seed and bring it into being. Bring it into your conscious. This is also a manifestation card, and we've got that new moon coming up in a couple of days. So allow yourself to revel in that and think about what it is that you want to seed, and be very specific, because I feel like for you Scorpios, by being specific, you're going to be able to focus your energy and time more, and also get to like what you truly want. I'm hoping that makes sense and resonates with you. And do let me know in the comments below how this reading has landed. And if you would like to have a one-to-one birth chart reading, you can check out in the description notes below. And please do give us a subscribe and a like if you enjoyed this reading. And I'll see you very soon. Thank you, Scorpios. Welcome, Sagittariuses. If you're a Sagittarius moon sign or a rising sign, this reading is for you. And first, I'd love to dive into that 10th house activation you've got here with that Mars and Mercury in the 10th house. Looking at that, Mars is really showing, whenever we see Mars transiting in the 10th house, it's very indicative of career and changes. So during this period of time with that Mars and Mercury, you could be experiencing a job change. So perhaps it's something you've applied for, or something that's been on your mind, or if you're self-employed, new opportunities coming your way. So that is something very exciting. And with Mars, it rules your 5th house, and it also rules your 12th house. And so that 5th house going into the 10th really brings a lot of creativity elements in it, things that you are skilled in terms of your hobby, creativity, media, that sort of thing. So if there's something new you've been thinking to explore, Sagittarius, is now is the time to go for it and just really embrace that adventurous spirit that you have. And Mercury is also giving us that connectivity here of your 7th house of relationships, building up partnerships, that ability to flow, because that's your Mercury ruler there. So your 7th house is actually ruled by a communicative sign. So this is quite strong for you in terms of you being able to use the way you express yourself, your words, and your intellect and your logic is really going to support you in this transit in terms of getting connected. And also, you'll be feeling quite serious about your career. You're going to be very conscious about the decisions you make, where you want to move forward with that Mercury and Virgo. You know, Virgo, as we know, is very analytical and precise and has this kind of likes to plan and be quite meticulous. So this energy could really help you here, especially if you've been feeling a bit all over the place perhaps in the last few months. And there's this nice activation of Venus in your 11th house with it in its own sign of Libra. So being very social, you might be feeling very optimistic in terms of like wanting to catch up with people, getting connected or reconnected with your social circle, people, opportunities that you have to network with others, because this is also the house of gains. So it's bringing in this element of bringing hopefully more money to you, or you also being quite focused on being with your money here and your wealth and how you can bring more into this space. And this also, like I said, is a great time for your career because this also interlinks, right? You're working to get yourself a better position in terms of your work, but equally with Venus in that 11th, it brings that element of you being quite charming and persuasive with the people you're around. So it's easier for you to make these connections as well. Something also to be mindful of is your health. So just to keep an eye on that, and anything that comes up, just, not to avoid it and actually focus and support yourself there. You do have that Saturn aspect on the 11th house of the Venus with Jupiter. So this can make you quite practical with the way that you approach this 11th house networking, which could actually be in your favor, bring a bit of practicality, because it can add a bit of structure and also stop you from swaying from side to side with what is going on here. And once again, your Venus in the 11th is aspecting that 5th house of creativity, so there's even more of a double activation on creativity. The Sagittarius, is I really invite you to explore that. Don't push that to the side and just think of career, because creativity and your potential to express yourself is very healing. And not only that, it helps us to process the things that we go through in life, process difficulties as well as positive things. And you just never know what skill you might tap into here. And with that Venus, it also does rule that 6th house going into the 11th. So there is that element of working to be of service here and supporting others as much as you support yourself. So let's have a look if we can get some more support and information about this transit for you, Sagittarius. So this is quite nice. You've got a lot of connectivity happening here. We've got the song, and then we have the ancestors card. And this card comes from the Earth suit, and there's a lot of green going on here. So I feel like there's a lot of activation of working on strengthening and supporting your heart chakra, supporting your yourself from within, also being really focused on your mental health and making sure that that is a priority in your life at the moment, is the kind of instant message I'm getting. And the song is really lovely, especially with the transits you're having now, because this is just asking you to bring some softness into your heart space and the way you express yourself, to really connect. If you've been kind of holding back on really expressing how you feel and your thoughts, and this doesn't have to be like through private relationships, this can also be through work relationships or day-to-day people that you interact with, now is the time to really allow yourself to open up and be honest about how you feel, the thoughts that you have, the ideas that you have to share. Maybe you're a person that sometimes gets shut down, or you don't always feel like this is the right environment for you to express yourself. The song card is just really asking to trust into you, trust into your power, and speak your truth. And just, you never know what connectivity that can bring with others. Other people might resonate with your message or be even thankful for the information that you're sharing. I like that we've got the ancestors card, because whenever this comes up, it hints to connecting with your ancestors or reconnecting if your practice has been interrupted or stopped for some reason. This is the time that they really have a message for you, and they really want you to open your ears and be open to receiving that. And especially in how the energy we're receiving it now, the message here is to spend some time in nature for you Sagittariuses. And you are quite adventurous as it is, so I don't think that'll be too hard. But really allow yourself to spend some time in nature, whether that's your garden or if you have large green spaces that you're fortunate to live by. Taking off your shoes, walking the earth, spending some time in meditation to receive the messages that your ancestors are bringing to you. This is quite intense in a sense as well, because this is all about family ties as well, and we've got this link to survival, death, and worship. And it's almost like bringing up things from the past here for you to know for you to experience and know what your ancestors' lives were like, and also the karma that comes with that, right? The passed on generational pain, the passed on generational need to survive, and for you to really be aware of that experience, and also, give thanks for the support of your ancestors who've done and given so much so you can have the life that you have today. So there's almost a deep element of really connecting to their messages and to connecting with your ancestors, but also the need to tap into gratitude and giving thanks to them. So there's a lot of interconnectivity going on here. I feel like this first part of September is a lot of inner world and outer world work. So it could be feeling quite intense and busy for you as it is. I mean, Sagittarius, is you have Gitu in your 12th house. So there's a lot of subconscious and things from the past that have been happening in the last, I think it was last September. Gitu went into your 12th house. So there's an ongoing theme here, and it's a really invitation for you to do some healing and reconnection. And I really hope that was helpful. So do let me know in the comments down below. And if you would like a one-to-one birth chart reading, or you'd like to look at any of my offerings, you can check the link in the description. And please do subscribe if you haven't done already, if you enjoyed this video. And I'll see you very soon. Welcome, Capricorns. This is your reading if you are a Capricorn rising or a moon sign. We're going to be focusing and looking at your 9th and 10th house here, with these transits of Venus and Mercury and Mars. So let's have a look at that Mercury. There's going to be a bit, I feel like you're going to be uplifted in the workplace with Venus in your 10th house in its own sign here. This is going to be really great for your public image and your creative ability as well, because Venus rules your 5th house and it also rules your 10th house. So there's this connection and activation here of perhaps you've been bringing some of your creativity in the workplace, or using your skills in terms of arts or whatever it is that you are into, in terms of making it into a business or a way that you share with the public or make money from this. And this Venus in the 10th house is going to be really nice for you, because it's going to add some harmony in the workplace. People are going to be more drawn to you. Things are going to flow effortlessly. And, people just being around you and seeing you is going to really affect them in a positive way. And the 10th house is also the house of fame, is the house of our social position in terms of how people in society view us as the wider world. And Venus here almost gives that attraction. So this is really great for you, especially if you enjoy being in the spotlight, or there's something that you wanted to spotlight in your career and you've been wanting it to take off. Now let's have a look at that Mars and Mercury in your 9th house in the sign of Virgo. So here you'll be starting to be really focused on your studies. So for those who are students, or if you're doing higher education or even any sort of kind of courses or something to upskill and learn, you can use that Virgo analyticalness and really get focused on that, and it's going to be very supportive of you for you too. Equally, this is going to have, you know, the ninth house is about our beliefs, the knowledge that we gain and the knowledge that we share, religion, philosophy, things like that. And so this is going to be a time where you really start to focus in on that and explore your beliefs. And also with Mars here, it can make you quite touchy and testy. Like if you have a strong belief about something, you are going to be butting heads with Virgo here. You know, you are going to be right. You're going to have the mentality of feeling really right and not really allowing anyone to challenge that. So there could be some friction in that sense. You know, the ninth house is the house of our gurus, our teachers, our mentors. And so you could even find yourself occupying that position yourself. Maybe now you are feeling ready to take up that role and support others through your wisdom and knowledge. Equally, if you have a teacher yourself, you know, with that Virgo here, it could be a bit difficult in terms of, you know, them trying to teach you, and maybe you trying to assert your power here. So that is something also to be mindful of. But this is a really nice transit for really expanding your knowledge and sharing it with the world. With Mars in particular, it rules your fourth house of home and your 11th house of gains, going into that ninth house. So you could be feeling quite at home in this sphere. You know, this is like your domain for the time. There could be some traveling on the front as well, as ninth house represents long distance travel, and you've got Mars transiting there too. So I really invite you to enjoy your time of exploration, Capricorn. I mentioned in earlier readings that Saturn will be aspecting that Venus as well as Jupiter. So this could really support you in the workplace. You know, if you find yourself being too caught up in this kind of uplifted feeling of having high status and everybody's got all eyes on you, Saturn is going to make you very practical and make you add some humbleness and make sure you're feeling down to earth. Equally, Rahu is going to be aspecting that ninth house with Mars and Mercury. So this is where it could be a bit tricky in this sense, because Rahu is a planet of illusion. It's also it can add some confusion as well. And so just a reminder, when you are in the space of sharing your knowledge and beliefs or debating other people about it in whatever way it might come up, just to know that Rahu is also influencing and has its power on the way you express yourself and the way you might be. So it's a good time to really think before you speak or you act and share, and just really get connected in with that. So let's have a look. We have drawn the protagonist card, which is really exciting, and the Earth Mother card. So there's two types of energies here. There's like action orientated, go, go, go. And then there's Earth Mother, which is all about slow pace and being connected to the space that you're in. And if we think about, like, you have had your Lagna Lord in the first house for a while now, retrograding, Jupiter will be moving back into there as well. So there is very much a focus for Capricorns at the moment on themselves, but it's almost how will you use that? There's two ways that this could play out for you, Capricorns. You could be really focused on your drive, on your career, on the work that you do, and really be pushing your efforts there. Alternatively, this is a chance for you to approach a different side to yourself. One which the word that I'm being drawn to here is curiosity. It's almost like allowing that inner child inside of you to come out a bit and play and approach life with curiosity, stepping out of your comfort zone maybe, and doing things that, or choosing a different approach to the things that you do, and make it a bit playful. Because as much as you are very hardworking and pragmatic and very good at what you do, you do have a softer side, and this needs to come out sometimes. And I feel like that's been the theme for a lot of the readings for this first half of September. And it's almost like you have the chance to rewrite your story here. And whenever we see this black and white juxtaposition of color, this is two aspects of ourselves, you know, the shadow self and the light self. And both need to be working in harmony for us to really be truly in unison with ourselves. So this is almost like an invitation for you to just look at this card and see what comes up for you, and trying to tap into that curiosity, ability to be curious and go and flow with it. So we have the Earth Mother here, which is really inviting you to stay grounded, not being too much in the headspace. You know, we've got an activation of the Earth signs here. There's planets in Virgo, planets in Capricorn, and a planet in Taurus. So allow yourself to ground yourself before you start anything, whether that's your meditation practice, whether that's your beginning of your day or going to work. Spend some moments really connecting with the ground, making sure, for example, if you meditate by sitting on the floor, really feel the lower part of your body sinking into the ground, feeling into the parts of yourself that connect with the ground, making sure that there's your spine is drawn into the earth. You know, this is going to help you to feel rooted and supported. So then whatever you go through throughout the day, it's not going to have so much as an effect on you as well. And this is also the mentor card as the Earth Mother. You are the guider. And so this energy here is reminding you to take, you can also, that when you teach people, you're sharing your wisdom, you can approach it in a different sense. You're a born leader here. So it's almost like you don't need to push that part of yourself out so much. That comes naturally. What are the unseen parts of yourself as a teacher, as a wisdom keeper that you can share, right? There's different sides of ourselves that we show to the world, and it's almost like it's your choice to bring some other parts of yourself and not feel that. I feel like with Capricorn sometimes there might be a need to have a lot of professionalism and seem professional, but then by focusing on that, there's nuances here that get lost, like your intuition, your innate ability to share and learn and things such as that. So it's almost like peeling back those layers. And similar to the reading before, you know, this is an invitation for you to sit and get connected in earth. You know, like when people prepare for speeches, interviews, or giving workshops, you'll spend a while looking over your notes and going over things to make things are right. But what if you change up that routine and make sure you actually spend some time grounding and meditating in the earth and in nature before you go and do that? What could that add to your experience? What could that add to the experience of others who are coming to see you speak? So I really hope that was helpful, Capricorns. Do let me know in the comments below how this reading feels for you, anything that you're looking forward to, or any of the information that I've given that maybe is like pushing you out of your comfort zone. And if you would like a one-to-one birth chart reading or any of my offerings, you can check out for the info in the description box. And please do give us a subscribe and a like if you enjoyed this reading. Thank you. Welcome, Aquariuses. If you're an Aquarius rising or a moon sign, this reading is for you. So there's a lot happening in the chart at the moment for you Aquariuses in terms of transits. You've got that activation happening in the 1st and the 7th house. You've got Rahu and Ketu in the 4th and 10th house. So all the Kendra houses are activated. And then now we are focusing on this transit of Mercury, Mars in the 8th and Venus in the 9th. And so let's tap into that 8th house energy for a moment. So Mars is the lord of your 3rd house of communication and the 10th house of career and business, entering that 8th house of changes. And then we've got Mercury, which is the lord of your 5th house of creativity, of children, of studying, and the ruler of your 8th house, which is changes, transformation, Kundalini. So there's a lot going on in your personal world and your public world, I'd say here. First of all, I just want to draw your attention to having planets such as Mercury and Mars in the 8th house is just a really great space to go deep. You know, 8th house is the house of research. And when you've got an analytical sign here and you've got that planet Mercury, which is the discoverer planet, right? It gets information to us. It hones our sense of communication, how we internalize information, our ability to get information. So here it is in the sign to research. So anything that you've been wanting to focus on or understand more and really dive into, this is going to be a perfect time for that. Mars here gives you the drive and willpower to really get to it as well. So if anybody here is interested in divination, whether that be tarot reading, for example, or astrology yourself, or the occult, this is a really great time, spiritual practices for you to really go into that. Perhaps now, the eighth house is a house of secrets and things that are hidden. So there's also sorts of untapped potential for us in terms of we can never really know exactly how a transit's going to go or what will come up. So you'll be able to go really deep into information, perhaps even enter some spaces and realms that are undiscovered before. So really utilize this time for that. I think this is going to be really exciting for you, and it's going to add to your personal growth as well, and the work you're doing inside as well as out. When Mars transits the eighth house as well, especially in the sign of Virgo, which is the sign of healing, equally the sign of health, and can bring up some health problems, just to be mindful about the health, and also taking care to avoid any accidents, or just being very aware of your surroundings when that Mars is transiting here as well. And I really feel like with Mars being your sign of communication in that third house, and your public world in the 10th house coming to the 8th, there is a potential for you to be sharing that information and discoveries to the wider world. Not necessarily now while you're in the scope of it, but maybe during the next transits as the planets move along into your 9th, 10th, and 11th house. So I feel like there's a lot of everything's on the inside now, slowly developing and churning for you to come out. But definitely keep an eye on your health as well, because we've got Rahu aspecting your 8th house too. So there's an expansion of those significations and can add a bit of difficulty in that sense as well. We have the Venus here now in your 9th house. So Venus in the 9th house in the sign of Libra as well as like optimum luxury, 9th and the 9th. So you might be doing some traveling right now, long distance. So if you've been planning that, or perhaps you're in the beginning of your trip, I think this is going to be really enjoyable for you. It's going to be relaxing. Allow yourself to really indulge in those Venusian qualities while you're away as well, right? It's going to be a time for you to explore that 9th house we spoke about earlier in the other readings is the house of philosophy and beliefs. So this is going to allow you to explore this, whether it's on your travels or you're just exploring by yourself. Venus in this higher octave represents being of service. So how can you do that here? Would it be through sharing your wisdom? Is it through volunteering? You have many options here within that. So that is very nice for you too. And we do have that Venus aspect in your 3rd house of communication. So you might be using that Venusian charm through your voice and expressing yourself. There is Uranus there in retrograde, which can, add a bit of a twist and an element on the way you communicate. But it's just keeping in the forefront about how your words and the way you express yourself have an effect on others is a great way to really hone in the way you express yourself when we have certain planets in positions, because Mars and Mercury in your 8th house here do aspect your 2nd house of speech also. So there is that reflection there. So that is something for you to be mindful of. And like I said before, where you have the nodes in the Kendras, and you've got the Jupiter and the Sun currently in your Kendras, there's a lot going on for you. So we've got the End card, which is very powerful, and then we've got levitation. So we've got this image of fire, mastery, meditation, your beliefs, and this is all connected to that Venus here. So allow yourself, don't get distracted is the sense. With Venus here, sometimes we can be attracted to the wrong sort of person, and there's like this illusionary aspect with Rahu as well in the mix here in Venus's rulership sign of Taurus. So don't allow yourself to kind of be charmed into anything. Really, it's a time to really set the stone in your beliefs. What do you believe in? How strongly do you believe that? It's time to really focus in on those, mastering your skills yourself. So any form of meditation is going to be really supportive to you as well. And with the End here, I feel like this is the end of a cycle, in the sense that it's the chance for you to cut those cords anything that has any attachment to you, any personal situation that does not serve you, that has been weighing on you for some time, Aquarius, this is your opportunity to cut those cords, right? And the energy here is asking you to take charge. This is the card of self-mastery. So, you know, there's no waiting for it to happen itself or just waiting it out. You are being guided to take control. Take control and do what needs to be done, because it feels like this energy here is almost like these situations that you've been in or relationships have not been helpful for you. Maybe they've been harmful or hurtful as well. And so this is the time to end it, especially like this major, the transits are happening in your 8th house. This is the house of transformations and ups and downs. So why not take that assertive step forward and start that off for yourself so you can start afresh and really focus inwards. And just coming back to this levitation card, I feel like there's an invitation here not to also be too much in your head. When we think about the attributes of levitating and being lifted off the ground, there's this element of floating and creating some more space here. So there's an invitation for that as well. So thank you so much, Aquariuses, for listening in on your reading. I really do hope it was helpful. Do let me know in the comments below anything that you wish to share, how this reading felt for you. And if you would like any of my offerings or one-to-one birth chart reading, you can check out the information in the description box below. And if you have not subscribed, I would really appreciate your support if you enjoyed this video. So I will see you in the next one. Welcome in, Pisces. If you're a Pisces rising or a moon sign, this reading is for you. And so we're looking at Mars and Mercury in Virgo and Venus in Libra, which is your 7th and 8th house. So we've got this activation of relationships and your outer world in the 7th house, and in the 8th, it's like the hidden side, the secrets, uninherited wealth and transformations being activated by Venus. So there's like two things going on here. And it's almost about our Pisces, how are you going to find the balance? And how are you going to make sure that the energy you put into these spaces are going to be conducive, right? Because you want to make the most out of the transit. When you've got Mars and Mercury in a relationship house, such as the 7th house, especially in the sign of Virgo, this is going to make you very action orientated and, you know, organized and meticulous towards your relationships. So if you are in a romantic partnership, you're going to feel very much like you're wanting to get things sorted and organized. You know, Venus would have been here prior, and so Venus is debilitated in the sign of Virgo, so it would have made relationships quite difficult. There might have been a struggle in terms of like expressing yourself to one another, maybe some arguments here and there. And now that it's left this space, it's leaving it up to Mercury to tap into the strong qualities of Virgo to support you. But equally, Mars is here, and Mars doesn't do so well in the sign of Virgo, in the sense that it's quite like unexpressed anger. It can be quite explosive. It's almost like you kind of got to really be mindful of the things that you say and how you approach things with your partner, and try and tap into the logical side of Virgo to really take your time and make sure that you the points that you want to bring up and that you want to work on problem solving, right? Because that's going to really help you more than anything else with this transit. Mars also rules your 2nd house, of which is a wealth house, and the house of speech, and it rules your 9th house of travel and of wisdom. So this is your opportunity to really highlight these things for yourself. The people that you connect with, really let them know about your skills and what you have to offer, because this is going to strengthen partnerships, and it can also prove to be a great opportunity for you setting yourself up in terms of like business relations, or ways that you can bring some money in and some income and bring yourself out there into the world. And you know, Mars is a planet that likes to dominate and take action. And so with that 7th house, you can try and tap into those parts to really utilize that. Mars is combust, and then Sun will also be joining the sign of Virgo as well, so that will make some things a bit difficult, but try your best to really connect to the essence of what the planet can do for you, to really allow it to focus on your strengths as well. And with Mercury, it's your 7th house ruler in the 7th house, so that really strengthens it there too. So it almost gives you the opportunity to put your best foot forward and your ideas forward, and it's not a time for you to shy away, especially with that 8th house transit of Venus here. It aspects your 2nd house of speech, so it can really add some great quality to it, right? It can soften your speech, it can make you a bit alluring here. And this is the house of hidden secrets, as I've mentioned before. This is the time where you get to really go in a journey of self-discovery, right? Not only of the self, but also of the things that you want to uncover. 8th house is a house of research. So if this is your domain, now is your time to really utilize that and find the answers you've been looking for, especially if you are into astrology or have like divination practices or the occult or your spirituality. This is the time where you can get maximum information from this sign transit here. And it's your 3rd house ruler also. So here's the opportunity to communicate about this and get this out there. This could also be potential for you to possibly bring your expertise in this field into your work, into your public life as well. And I mentioned earlier that the 8th house is like is the hidden wealth, it's inherited wealth and such. So you can really might be thinking about money in that sense too. So time to get focus on your finances. And we've got some really like strong dominating energy here coming for you. So we've got the Sun, which is the greatest card for optimism. This is you standing up into your leadership role. This is you standing up and saying, I have knowledge, I have power, I have things to share, and I'm going to step up into that role and not kind of dull my shine and hide. Don't allow others to kind of push forward in front of you. You know, Pisces, you have a lot of empathy. You have this ability to connect with people and often put people first before your own needs. So now is that time to tap into the essence of the Sun and the strength, so you can stand up into that role that you were meant to inhabit here. And what I love equally is that with the Sun comes nourishment. And we've got mantra medicine here, which is like my favorite card, because if you do practice mantra, you will know how healing it is to recite those sounds, those words, the melody. Mantra is very powerful and gives us the maximum ability for strength and also transformation and power. So allow yourself to be nourished by the seed sounds. Allow yourself to be nourished by the sun. And so I definitely invite you, Pisces, to spend some time outdoors during bright sunlight if you can, and really take in that energy for yourself. And that's going to help to strengthen your ego, your sense of self, right? It's going to really help to support that. And the sun is in its own sign of Leo at the moment, so that's even more supportive there. So you can draw in the energy of the sun consciously through meditation by sitting out within that energy. And there's also the invitation to do the Surya Mudra as well. So I'll try and show in the camera. This is one way of doing that. And so you can hold Surya Mudra whilst you are doing your meditation in the sunshine. And equally with the mantra card, this always makes me smile. So, I mean, it kind of is what it says it is, and you can see the energy radiating from the card by practicing mantra. And so my invitation of mantra for you is to connect with the planet Venus for this first half of the month, and that kind of Venusian qualities of harmony, beauty, self-care, expression, being of service as its higher octave. You know, Venus are the things that give us luxury and the things that we want, so it also rules desire. So really connecting with this planet's energy, and if it feels good to you to use the mantra Om Hrim, would be really great if that feels nice for you. So just trust your intuition and see how the practices I've shared fit for you, and if you feel called to do them. But it feels like there's a lot of a good time for you to focus on your healing here in the month of September. So Pisces, I really hope this reading was helpful. Do let me know in the comments your experiences even with some of the options I've given to try for meditation. And if you would like a one-to-one reading of a birth chart reading, you can check out my information in the description box. And if you enjoyed this reading, please do also give us a subscribe and a like as well. And I'll see you very soon for the next one.